Supe versus Supe combat. The most obvious way to kill a Supe is with another Supe. Compound V doesn't make every superhero equally durable. Some Supes are nearly impossible for normal humans to hurt, while others are just barely stronger, faster, or stranger than regular people. The right Supe can tear through another one just like butter if the power gap is big enough. We see this constantly across both The Boys and Gen V. Homelander kills Black Noir by punching through his body and breaks A-Train's neck in half. This is the same A-Train who kills Blue Hawk by dragging him across the road at super speed. In Gen V 2, Golden Boy at Godolkin casually rips another student apart during a school ranking fight. Hence why Supe-on-Supe combat is the cleanest answer. If a Supe is too strong for human weapons, you bring in a stronger Supe, unless you are up against Homelander. The Godolkin virus. The Godolkin virus is the closest thing the show has to a real Supe extinction weapon. It begins in Gen V, under Godolkin University, inside the woods, where Dr. Cardosa is experimenting on captive students. Dean Shetty doesn't want a way to control Supes, but rather to exterminate them. She pushes the research toward a virus that can target people with Compound V in their bodies and kill them. At first, the virus is only a nightmare contingency plan, but then it becomes one of the most dangerous weapons in the entire franchise. Victoria Newman gets her hands on it, and far worse, Butcher finds out about it. By the end of The Boys, it turns into the thing that could wipe Supes off the planet if someone desperate enough after the death of their only connection to humanity releases it, except if they have V1 in their blood. But it attaches itself to the perfected V, which would cause nothing less than a genocide as it goes after the biology that makes Supes, Supes. Internal explosions. Internal explosions work because durability in The Boys is often skin deep. Translucent is the perfect example. From the outside, his carbon-based skin is almost impossible to penetrate. Bullets don't work, and neither do knives. Just beating him doesn't solve the problem. Frenchie realizes the weakness isn't the outside, but the inside, as Translucent's internal organs are still vulnerable. So the boys put explosives inside him, and Huey detonates the charge. That establishes one of the most important rules in the show. If you can't break the armor from the outside, attack the soft tissue from the inside. Termite proves the same idea, but in a more accidental way. When he shrinks down and enters another man's body, then sneezes and expands, the victim is destroyed from within. Against the durable Supe, the body can be impenetrable, but if the attack begins inside the walls, then it really doesn't matter. Blood manipulation. Blood manipulation is lethal, because what's needed for the attack to succeed exists in everyone. Victoria Newman spends most of the show hiding that in plain sight. Susan Rayner dies mid-conversation. The congressional hearing becomes a room full of exploding heads. Alistair Adana gets popped after Newman makes her deal with Stan Edgar. Later, Tony exposes her Red River past, and she kills him in the alley by turning his own blood against him. None of those are fair fights. Newman just needs line of sight and enough time to trigger the rupture. Gen V pushes the same power even further with Marie Moreau. She starts by cutting her palms and throwing blood like blades, but by the finale, she can sense even the V in the blood inside other people and blow up Thomas Godolkin. Hence why blood manipulation is such a clean Supe-killing method. Bulletproof skin doesn't help if the weapon is already in your veins. The weakness to this method is obviously speed, as Newman herself dies when Butcher's tentacles rip her apart before she can stop him. Radiation depowerment. Radiation depowerment works well because it doesn't necessarily need the executing Supe to be stronger than its target. It simply burns the Compound V out first. Soldier Boy becomes the main example after the Russians experiment on him. His chest blast tears through Herogasm, kills weaker Supes, and leaves the survivors badly injured and depowered. Kimiko takes a direct hit earlier and survives, but her healing factor disappears. Suddenly, she can be cut open, hospitalized, and killed like a normal person. Maeve gets the same result in Vought Tower when she tackles Soldier Boy out of the building during his explosion. She lives, but the V is gone. By the series finale, the same idea is exploited when Kimiko's new depowering ability strips Homelander before Butcher kills him in the Oval Office. So really, this method is the most lethal, as it became the final answer to the strongest Supe of all time, like Homelander. Even after he had taken V1, you take the power away first, and then even a god is just flesh, bone, and panic. Conventional military weapons. Conventional weapons can kill Supes, but mostly when the target target is weaker, exposed, or already depowered. The show proves this by first letting normal weapons fail against the top tier. Homelander walks through gunfire and explosions like they barely exist. Soldier Boy survives Nicaragua, Russian captivity, and almost everything the boys throw at him until Novichok is involved. Maeve can take punishment that would erase a normal human, but lower-tier Supes aren't built like that. Mesmer can read minds through touch, but Butcher still beats him to death in a bathroom. Translucent skin stops bullets, but Frenchie's explosive still kills him once it gets inside. Guard units in the underground Vought facility utilize specialized high-caliber armor-piercing ammunition and sonic-frequency military weapons specifically calibrated to suppress, maim, or kill young Supes trying to escape. When Homelander smuggles Compound V to overseas cells, a U.S. Navy SEAL team uses standard military-grade assault rifles to eliminate multiple armed insurgents. So guns, bombs, blades, and blunt force are not useless. Against Homelander at full power, they are a joke. Against a weaker or depowered Supe, they can absolutely end the fight. High-frequency sound attacks. High-frequency sound attacks work because a lot of Supes have stronger senses than normal people. The clearest early example is the cabin in Season 2, when Frenchie uses a sonic device against Homelander and Ryan. It doesn't come close to killing Homelander, but it hurts him, throws him off, and gives Butcher and Becca a short opening. Gen V uses the same idea around Godolkin. The school and Vought treat sound as anti-Supe crowd control because students with dangerous powers can still be disoriented if their senses are overloaded. That works even against people like Sam, Marie, Jordan, or Andre, where a clean fight could go wrong fast. Sound isn't a guaranteed execution method, of course. Homelander isn't going to drop dead just because a machine screams at him. But if a Supe cannot focus, aim, hear, or breathe through the pain, someone else can land the real finishing blow. Drowning and suffocation. Drowning and suffocation work because most Supes still run on basic biology. They can be stronger, faster, or harder to cut, but unless their power directly covers breathing, they still need air and functioning nerves. The Deep is the obvious exception. His gills make drowning pointless, though the show also makes those gills a target whenever someone hurts him there. Soldier Boy proves its effectiveness with Novichok. Nobody can simply beat him unconscious for long, so the Russians use gas to keep him contained. Homelander even directly chokes out Soldier Boy before putting him back into the cryo chamber. Stop the body from functioning, and strength doesn't matter as much. It is simply to attack the survival system that the Supe's power doesn't protect. Supe-specific weaknesses. Supe-specific weaknesses are where the boys gets the most practical and gives the normal people a bit of hope. You study the power or the person, then look for the gap. Translucent is invincible from the outside, so Frenchie attacks the inside. Black Noir is one of Vought's deadliest killers, but Tree Nuts can drop him because of his allergy. The Deep can survive underwater, but his gills are soft, exposed, and easy to hurt. Mesmer's mind reading doesn't do a thing once Butcher gets him alone in a bathroom. Kate needs touch to control people, so Marie stops her by destroying her arm in Gen V. Mr. Marathon is a speedster who can run through people, so Soldier Boy puts down baby oil on the floor and makes him slip, then breaks his legs. Homelander meets a blind hero, so he makes him deaf, essentially taking away his superpowers. It's simple, really. Find what the power doesn't cover, then hit that spot hard. Drug and chemical overloads. Drug and chemical overloads work because Compound V doesn't make a body immune to chemistry. A-Train is the clearest long-running case. His speed makes him a weapon, but his abuse of Compound V wrecks his heart and nearly kills him more than once. Popclaw shows the messy side of the same problem when she uses V, loses control during a wild act, and accidentally kills her landlord. Temp V takes it further with Butcher and Huey. It gives normal humans Supe powers for a short time, but repeated use leaves Butcher with a death sentence and pushes him toward the tumor-powered version of himself. Then there's the spin-off series Diabolical, which shows how every Supe has their choice of drug. Ironcast's hooked on blood, Homelander's running on cocaine, even Maeve's on antidepressants. And you can trust Butcher to exploit any weakness he can find. He blackmails their dealer into spiking Wide Wonder's heroin right before his Hall of Fame induction. Heroin, which I might add, he likes to take from the back gate. The overdose sends Wonder rocketing past Mach 2 and straight through Ironcast, killing them both without Butcher throwing a single punch.